चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
राजा आरती और मसाला।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू, भेज दे रहे हैं। ठीक है ना, भेज रहे हैं मंडू। अरे अनु से नहीं होगा। तुमको कुमार गिरा दो नीचे। अब तुम गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला ना लोगों का गाड़ी में सवार।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा से। MTH का जल जीरा, जीरा से।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू, भेज दे रहे हैं। ठीक है ना, भेज रहे हैं मंडू। अरे अनु से नहीं होगा। तुमको कुमार गिरा दो नीचे। अब तुम गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला ना लोगों का गाड़ी में सवार।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. Your You're watching Republic.
Pakistan yet again targets civilians, this time in Afghanistan. Hits a drug rehabilitation hospital in Kabul. Taliban claims 400 killed and over 250 injured in the Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, NIA arrests 7 foreigners accused of training Myanmar terrorists and routing drones via India. After Shivalik, yet another LPG carrier, Nanda Devi arrives in India, docked at Kandla Port in Gujarat. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as Searam air defense attempts to intercept. You're watching the live report with me, Shavan Sen. Over the next couple of minutes, we're going to take you through the latest reports coming in from Kabul. Yet another airstrikes carried out by Pakistan. But this time, the target happens to be a hospital in central Kabul and not a terror facility as claimed by the Pakistanis. In fact, Afghanistan has basically called it a slaughterhouse of dreams. Not just that, 400 civilians have been killed. There's been a massive escalation in the strikes that have been carried out by the Pakistanis over the last 48 hours. In fact, this time, these strikes have been carried right inside Kabul. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, there's been a massive deployment that has been done by the Afghanistan Defense Forces. This is along the Durand line. In fact, Taliban has vowed a revenge for 400 civilians who have been killed. In fact, over the last few days, Taliban has been maintaining that only civilian areas have been targeted by the Pakistanis. In fact, last time when these strikes were basically carried out, they had carried out the strikes in civilian areas of Nangarhar province and several other provinces where civilians have essentially been targeted. Let me first take you through a report as far as the airstrikes of the Pakistanis are concerned.
A bombardment in Kabul on the night of the 16th of March resulted in the death of over 400 people. The casualties were all civilians. Moreover, they were patients at a drug rehabilitation facility. Afghanistan has stated that Pakistan was responsible for the bombing that destroyed a rehabilitation center, killing 400 people and injuring 250 others. Take a look at these visuals of emergency teams trying to rescue people from the rubble. Kabul has termed the attack a crime against humanity. Massive fires blazed and plumes of black smoke filled the air as patients desperately ran to save their lives amid the bombardment. Take a look at the same facility before the attack. Patients interacting with counselors to get better and recover from addiction. Now the structure is in ruins. Hundreds of lives lost and hundreds more injured. Popular cricketer Rashid Khan condemned the attack and expressed concern over civilian casualties. he called upon the UN and other human rights agencies to thoroughly investigate this latest atrocity and hold the perpetrators to account. Pakistan, meanwhile, has categorically denied carrying out the attack. Kabul, on the other hand, has said that this is no time for diplomacy with Islamabad and that they would retaliate.
Well, we are absolutely delighted to have this joint broadcast with Afghanistan's leading broadcaster, Tolo News. In fact, Hamid, Tolo News' presenter, is joining us on this broadcast. Hamid, thank you very much for joining us. In fact, this is a difficult moment for you and your entire nation as yet again Pakistan has carried out airstrikes. First, I want to understand from you what's the current situation like. How has Taliban really responded to the strikes that were carried out late last night by the Pakistani Defense Forces?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So around 9 p.m. last night, the Pakistani military regime airstrikes targeted at 2,000 bed drug addicts rehabilitation hospital in Kabul, and based on the official confirmations which we have received so far, 400 addicts who were under the treatment have been killed and more than 250 were injured. Many others still are missing under the debris. So the official says that the rescue operation is still ongoing. And based on my information, as a chamber of the hospital where 150 inmates were directly hit by these airstrikes. The current toll is not finalized. The official said that it may increase. My colleagues last night, they have been to the ground, they have been to the scene, and they narrated very horrific scenes from that. They had different narrations from that. So they have seen bodies everywhere, the missing bodies of the victims all over the place. So it was a very horrific scene, what we have heard and what we have seen, the images that you also displayed on your screen. So as a result of these airstrikes, there was a huge flame as well, which was controlled later on. These people were the innocent people who had hoped to get back to a very normal life after the recovery, but unfortunately, they never reached the life they were dreamt of, and they were the victim of the war that they were never the part of. So, Mr. Zabiullah Mujahid, the spokesperson of the government here, also last night with Thelonious, he confirmed that they are going to avenge these attacks on civilians, and now there's no room left for diplomacy with Pakistan. He also compared Pakistan's action here in Afghanistan with the Israelis.
Hamid, you are saying that the Taliban government late last night made an announcement that there's going to be no question of having a dialogue with Islamabad?
You're right, yes. I personally asked him, and he joined in a program, and he said no room is left for diplomacy with Pakistan, and they are going to avenge, and they want to go into revenge these attacks on civilians as they did before. So the Pakistani side should be waiting for their response, and we cannot expect when, but of course they had confirmed that they're going to revenge these attacks. And of course they also confirmed that they're not going to attack civilians, as they already proved that, and only the installations, the military installations and the military personnel of the Pakistani military regime will be among the targets that they are going to launch. And also, he also confirmed that last night it was not only Kabul in the hospital which was being bombed by the Pakistani military regime, but as well as the two locations in Nangarhar in the eastern part of Afghanistan as well was the target by these airstrikes. And you know that this is not the first time or the first incursion by the Pakistani military regime.
Right.
Of course, you remember that on 22nd last month as well, they have carried out airstrikes which killed 17 members of a single family, all women and children. They target civilians. They do not target what they call TTP, and they never proved that. Of course, they targeted TTP hideouts or any sanctuaries here in Afghanistan. They never proved that. So even it's not only the local media or the national media who report from the ground, even the international media as well, they reported that in this showcase, they proved that all the victims of these airstrikes and these incursions or the civilians in the United Nations as well, the United Nations assistance mission here in Kabul as well, they confirmed that all these victims were civilians. It's not now, even in the previous attacks which happened or which was carried out by the Pakistani military regime.
Hamid, help us understand what has been the response since last night. Has the Taliban decided to carry out further attacks? Because last time, Sirajuddin Haqqani had said that they are going to this time strike inside Pakistan. Has there been any response coming in from the Taliban?
So far, we don't have any report indicating that they have commenced any operations inside the Pakistani soil. But previously, you have, I'm sure that you know that you have received the footages as well that they have targeted the heart of Pakistan, Islamabad, and the drones were flying over a very nuclear weapon country, and all the missions were successful based on the reports we got. And right now, so we have not reports. We don't have anything right at the moment I'm speaking with you. But previously there was a Radul Zulm operation, which is in English denying cruelty. It was on the hypothetical borderline, and they targeted the military installations of the Pakistani military regime. Even on the very first night of these operations, more than 50 Pakistani military regime personnel were killed. Based on the authentic reports, and some of the bodies were brought to this site, and of course their post was destroyed, even in some military installations, which was very important for the Pakistani military regime inside Quetta and Islamabad and Balochistan and some other areas as well was among the target. But for last night's reaction, we do not have any confirmed report of any operation launched from the Afghan side, but of course the spokesperson confirmed that they are going to revenge these attacks. They will not let this unresponsive.
Hamid, with regards to civilian infrastructure being targeted by the Pakistanis say that these are facilities used by the TTP, and that TTP is hiding in Afghanistan, and that is the reason why these attacks have been carried out. Give us a sense of what's the reality. Are these TTP facilities that are being targeted by the Pakistanis, or these are purely civilian areas in central Kabul, which is not very far away from Sharinau, is what I'm being told?
Right. If it's not only Pakistan claiming that, of course, if they claim that there are the TTP hideouts here in Afghanistan, they can as mentioned earlier, that the United Nations, as mentioned here, they have confirmed that all the victims of these blind airstrikes were the victims, the civilians only. So they never proved, nobody proved that so far any TTP hideouts or targeted. Let me give you an example. When they killed or targeted 10 of the cricket players in Paktika, were the TTP. When they killed 17 family members in Nangarhar on 22nd February, where majority were children and women, were the TTP. We have shown the world the pictures that if this children is a TTP, then come on, okay, prove that. So they couldn't prove anything. And even right now, as I'm speaking to you, they are shelling on the border, hypothetical borderline, as a result where thousands of people fled their places and they are seeking a safe place to live. And of course, the TTP is just a claim, and they never proved that. They never shared any document showing that, of course, they have targeted the TTP. Let's share it with the world, so that if you claim that they are TTP, well, I said that women and children are not TTP. They're civilians. They have nothing to do with the military purposes. They're just trying to horrify people. And we don't know, I personally, that what are they looking for targeting these civilians, innocent children and women in the holy month of Ramadan.
Hamid, also help us understand one final question, because I'm told that you have another program to attend. So one final question I want to take with you, and I hope you'll be joining us later in the evening, because this is a very vital joint broadcast that we are doing for the first time. An Indian News Network and an Afghan News Network has come together for a joint broadcast. So one final question. In terms of the deployment that has been done by the Afghan Defense Forces, and the fact that there has been a massive build-up along the what you call hypothetical Durand line, what's the situation like on the ground?
Yes, so of course it's military and militarized, and what I know is that it's possible that any moment the avenge strikes may happen, the operation may happen. And you know that the officials here in Kabul were clear enough that if Kabul is going to be attacked, Islamabad is going to be attacked too. If Kabul is destabilized, Islamabad is going to be destabilized too. So I'm sure that these actions will not left unanswered, and the officials have assured the people that, of course, they're going to respond to these attacks. And diplomacy, I don't know, it's an option anymore for the officials here, because they have said that they tried these channels and they were all failed, and the Pakistani sides were not willing to reach an agreement or to resolve these issues and these differences through diplomacy channels. So that's why the military option is on the table for them, and they're going to attack. And what we call the international media as well, and as well as those the international organizations to come by themselves and thoroughly investigate who are the victims and show the reality with the and share these realities with the outside world.
I want to share this with you because a breaking news has come in. Perhaps it's also going to be useful for you. Here in India, the Ministry of External Affairs has just condemned the attacks that were carried out by the Pakistanis late last night in Kabul. And they've called out the action of the Pakistani Defense Forces by saying that this is perhaps the nature of the Pakistani armed forces, where time and again they've targeted civilian areas. In the past too, when Operation Sindoor was underway, the Pakistanis had targeted civilian areas here in India too. I just want one quick word from you in terms of expectation that the Afghans really have right now from India.
Yes, and thank you. We appreciate the Indians' stance on such a moment. Yes, we have been hearing and following the reports that India was the only country which condemned at these attacks on the Afghan civilians. And so, as personally, in my view, I am thanking the Indians for being with the Afghans at this moment, and at least trying to showcase the reality to the world of what's happening in the ground. And we expect the other countries as well not to go silent on these war crimes, what we call it, or what the officials call here. So they should condemn that, and they should urge the Pakistan to find a diplomatic solution to the challenges that they have. And if, again, I want to very briefly mention that what official says that TDP is not their problem. It is the Pakistan domestic affairs problem, and they should address it by themselves. They should not blame others for their failures at all.
Well, thank you very much, Hamid, for joining us on this broadcast. We're hoping to get you back this evening as we continue our rolling coverage from Afghanistan as yet another escalation that is seen on the ground. Thank you very much, Hamid.
Thank you for having me.
Well, in fact, this was the first report coming in from Kabul. In fact, Republic is the only Indian news network to have reported right from the place where these attacks were carried out. Pakistanis say that these are hideouts of the TTP, but in reality it turns out that this was a hospital which was targeted by the Pakistanis. Taliban claims 400 people have lost their lives. Here's a ground report.
The hospital, that there were all civilians, that they were under treatment for recovery, and most of them will be not good health, but the Pakistani jet have targeted that place. I go to that place, that hospital last night, that is named Umaid Hospital, that it have 2,000 beds hospital, and the civilians were under treatment there. There were firing, and I speak to the people for the Republic. They said that the explosion was very heavy, and the jets have landed many bombs on that hospital. Unfortunately, in this morning, I speak with Alhamdulillah Fitrat, deputy spokesperson for Islamic Emirate. He said that in last night, there was more than 500 killed and more than 200 injured. And now I'm in Wazir Mohammed Agha Khan Hospital, a big and famous hospital in Kabul city. The more relative, as I said, that I speak with Kandla Port, deputy spokesperson for Islamic Emirate of Taliban. He said for Republic that in last night attack there was more than 500 killed, but all were civilians that were admitted at the hospital for recovery, and there was hundreds injured. I sent some videos for Republic that you can see that there was all firing in that place, and there was a very big destruction in that place. And now I'm in Wazir Mohammed Agha Khan Hospital. This is a big hospital in the Kabul city. I speak with doctors and here. They said that last night they get some more than hundreds injured here in this hospital in the emergency department, and also dozens of injured are in.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi and National Law School Bengaluru.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा और मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है ना, भेज रहा मंटू। नहीं तो फोन तो करा जी। आलू से नहीं होगा। हो गया। उनका कुमार गिरा दो नीचे। अब उनसे गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला, ना लोगों का गाड़ी में चला।
US did not anticipate retaliatory strikes from Iran after the initial strikes by Washington. This is now being accepted by Donald Trump. As he says, he was surprised that Iran attacked Gulf countries at the beginning of the war.
They weren't supposed to go after all these other countries in the Middle East. Those missiles were set to go after them. So they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. And the other one, you know, they fought back. They could have yielded. But think of it, if we weren't around, they had tremendous power. They had thousands of missiles, most of which we've terminated.
Videos circulating online appear to show Iranian Space Research Center in Tehran and headquarters of Iran's cyber police in Hamadan engulfed in flames, with thick smoke rising following reported strikes. Iran says that the US and Israeli strikes have damaged around 43,000 residential and commercial buildings across the country, though no details have been released about military losses. Officials say more than 1,300 people have been killed in Iran, around 850 in Lebanon, and at least 12 in Israel. At least 13 US military personnel have also died, including 6 who were killed in a plane crash in Iraq last week. In Tehran, Iranian Red Crescent rescue members were seen searching for survivors after an airstrike reportedly hit a building near Shohada Square and Pirozi Street in the eastern part of the capital. Iran's Joint Military Command has warned that logistical and service facilities supporting the US aircraft carrier Gerald Ford in the Red Sea could be considered targets.
حضور ناو هواپیمابر جرالد فورد آمریکا در دریای سرخ به عنوان تهدیدی علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران محسوب می‌گردد. لذا مراکز لوجستیکی و خدمات دهی به ناوگروه یاد شده در دریای سرخ به عنوان هدف نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران محسوب می‌شوند.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said that he has asked several countries to send warships to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open, a key route for global oil supplies. Fears of a global energy crisis remain as tensions continue to escalate, even as a small number of ships continue to pass through the strategic waterway.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा.
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, Excellency Prime Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहे हैं ठीक है ना भेज रहे मंडू आलू से नहीं होगा তিনটা কুমার কিনা দিচ্ছে আপনি গাড়ি পূর্ণ হলা তাহলে ওই টাকা গাড়ি মাথা
Hello and welcome. You're watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV with me, Ishita Mitra. Now, viewers, tensions are escalating between Afghanistan and Islamabad. Now, in the latest attack on a hospital in Kabul, at least 400 people have been killed and about 250 injured. Taliban claims it's a crime against humanity, while Pakistan says it was just targeting TTP hideouts. We'll get you all the details on that. But first up, let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. Afghanistan Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Republic reports from ground zero of the attack on a rehab center in Kabul. The Afghan government has termed the attack as a slaughterhouse of dreams. Following a Republic Tolo joint broadcast, breaking news emerges. Kabul has now confirmed there will be no talks with Islamabad. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, NIA now arrests 6 Ukrainians and 1 US man accused of training Myanmar militants and routing drones via India. After Shivalik's second LPG carrier, Nanda Devi arrives in India. Third crude oil tanker, Jag Ladki, docks tonight at 8 p.m. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as SeaRAM air defense attempts to intercept drones. All right, here's the top focus at this hour. Breaking news coming in as Minister of Commerce and Industry of India, Piyush Goyal, says while addressing the Lok Sabha that he has stated this is the new era for Indian markets. Now, that's a big statement coming in from the Commerce Minister, Piyush Goyal, who now says that this is the era for Indian markets. Now, he was addressing at the lower house of the Parliament, Lok Sabha, and while addressing, he's now made a big statement regarding India's growth story. He says that this era that we're living in right now is the era for Indian markets. Now, remember, Indian economy has been performing resiliently despite the global churns that we have been witnessing, right from wars to even global markets crashing and the oil price surge. But Indian economy has been resilient throughout, and we're now looking at a big statement made by Piyush Goyal, Commerce Minister, on the floor of the House in Lok Sabha. He now says that this is a new era for Indian markets. That's the statement that has come in from the Commerce Minister as he was addressing the House. He was talking about India's growth story, and he now says that this is the new era for Indian markets. This is the era where India will be receiving a lot of investments. India, in fact, will be writing its growth story to achieve the aim of a Viksit Bharat by 2047. And he highlights that how, despite the global churns, Indian economy has been resilient throughout. In fact, and now he says that the current era that we are living in is the new era for Indian markets. Now, remember, this also comes on the heels of several FTA agreements that India, in fact, has signed. We have signed one with the US, one, in fact, we have signed with the UK, New Zealand, Australia, Oman. Several FTAs have been signed by India in the recent past, and we're now looking at India moving towards its goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047. In fact, let's take a listen as to what the Commerce Minister has said on India's growth story.
हमारे देश की जो काबिलियत है, हमारे देश में जो अलग अलग प्रकार के उद्योग और जो कौशल है देश का, उसमें सर्विसेज सेक्टर में भी हमने बहुत बढ़त की है। और माननीय निशिकांत जी को खुशी होगी, मैं आपके माध्यम से बताना चाहूँगा, पूरे देश को, सदन को खुशी होगी कि सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट में अमूलचूल बढ़त भारत ने पिछले 3 वर्षों 4 वर्षों में की है। उसके तहत अगर आप देखें, मर्चेंडाइज और सर्विस दोनों को जोड़ के जब हम देखते हैं, तो जो ट्रेड डेफिसिट है वो साधारणतः 1.25% जीडीपी का हर वर्ष रहा है। बीच में तो सरप्लस में भी हम आ गए थे 4 साल पहले। ऐसी परिस्थिति में हमने सिर्फ एक आंकड़ा देखने के बदले व्यापक रूप से निर्यात कैसे होगा, किन चीज़ों में कंपेटिटिव एडवांटेज है, यानी विश्व के सब देशों के सामने हमारी स्पर्धा में खड़े रहने में कैसी चीज़ें हैं, कौन से वो वस्तु हैं, कौन सी वो सेवाएं हैं जिसमें हम स्पर्धा में आगे जा सकते हैं। हमारा ध्यान उस पर आकर्षित है। और जिस तेजी से आखिर आज की इतनी बड़ी दुनिया में जो संकट है, उसमें कोई भी सोच सकता था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज में शिप्स जा नहीं सकती हैं, फ्रेट 3 गुना हो गया है, इंश्योरेंस मिलता नहीं है। इस सब के बावजूद पिछले महीने फरवरी तक हमारा ट्रेड गुड्स का भी, सर्विसेज तो चलो शिप से नहीं जानी है, सर्विसेज में तो हर महीने बढ़त हो रही है, लेकिन गुड्स भी फरवरी तक फ्लैट है, घटा नहीं है। मार्च में भी लगभग मंथ के एंड तक, पहले हफ्ते में थोड़ी कमजोरी दिखी, दूसरे हफ्ते में पॉजिटिव हो गया, और मार्च के एंड तक हम फिर एक बार मेंटेन कर लेंगे भारत का एक्सपोर्ट।
Now, as the tensions escalate between Islamabad and Afghanistan, India unequivocally has condemned Pakistan's barbaric airstrike on the Umaid Addiction Treatment Hospital in Kabul on the night of March 16. This is a cowardly and unconscionable act of violence that has claimed the lives of a large number of civilians in a facility which can by no means be justified as a military target. That's the statement coming in from MEA. In fact, it further reads, Pakistan is now trying to dress up a massacre as a military operation. MEA says that this heinous act of aggression by Pakistan is also a blatant assault on Afghanistan's sovereignty and a direct threat to regional peace and stability. It also says it reflects Pakistan's persistent pattern of reckless behavior and its repeated attempts to externalize its internal failures through increasingly desperate acts of violence beyond its borders. That this act was carried out during the holy month of Ramadan, a time of peace, reflection and mercy among Muslim communities across the world, makes it all the more reprehensible. There is no faith, no law and no morality that can justify the deliberate targeting of a hospital and its patients. Now, India, in fact, has condemned the strikes on a hospital in Kabul in strongest terms, calling it a heinous act. In fact, all right, my colleague Abhishek Kapoor now joins me in more details on this. Abhishek, we're looking at a very strong worded statement coming in from New Delhi condemning the strikes on a hospital in Kabul by Pakistan.
Well, naturally so. And you know what happened to Ummah, what happened to Ramzan or Ramadan, and what happened to the month of piety. The fact that, as we are seeing in the case of West Asia, so in the case of Pakistan, remember this is second round of hostilities essentially getting initiated from the Pakistani side on the issue of Durand Line, and this time at least the fatalities have been high. Afghanistan reports suggest about 400 plus civilians killed or maimed in these Pakistani air strikes, and Afghanistan has taken a very strong position and condemned them, and possibly this would follow a round of counter strikes as we have seen every time. But what is important is Pakistan continues to remain a sponsor of military and non-military instability in the region, like in the case of India with all the terror proxies that Pakistan cultivates and deploys in Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of the country, to Afghanistan, where their military is directly involved in these operations. It's a case of a rogue nation creating trouble around the neighborhood, and the Afghans are really realizing it to their detriment of the consequences of having once collaborated in any manner with Pakistan or the Pakistani deep state. India, of course, condemning it strongly. We have done it every time. And as a victim of Pakistan born and bred terror, we can understand from where this strong reaction from Afghanistan is coming and what the Afghans must be feeling at the manner in which their sovereignty and territorial integrity is sought to be breached and compromised, and civilians killed. Not the first time that civilians have been targeted by Pakistan in these airstrikes in Kabul and other cities, including Kandahar, including Paktia and Paktika. This was just about 5 days back that we had seen similar round of airstrikes being carried out by Pakistan. Now, Pakistan might claim that they are targeting the rogue Taliban elements, but rogue or not, Taliban is something which has had a historical umbilical link with Pakistan, and the fact that Pakistan refuses to talk to them and use diplomacy and instead deploys its army even in the holy month of Ramzan clearly shows how rogue the military-industrial complex of Pakistan has really gone, Ishta.
Right, of course, and we stand in solidarity with Afghanistan at this moment because, as you said, we have also been at the receiving end of terror by Pakistan. But I want to ask you because, we have not just condemned, we have also called out the justification given by Pakistan in this. We have called out that it is just another attempt by Pakistan to externalize its internal failures. All right, we'll try and connect with my colleague there. But viewers, that's the latest response coming in from India condemning the strikes by Pakistan on a hospital in Kabul in a very strong worded statement. We've not just called out the strikes, but we've also called out the justification, which in fact has been given by Islamabad, saying it is just another attempt by Pakistan to externalize its internal failures. We've said this attack was carried out during the holy month of Ramadan, and this in fact goes against any international norms that have been laid out. All right, in fact, we're getting you visuals of those attacks as well, right from inside the hospital where the attack took place, and the latest statement that is coming from New Delhi condemning the strikes and also pledging support to Afghanistan, saying that how this attack goes against the sovereignty of the country as well as goes against the rights of humans. It's a crime against humanity is what India is saying, and saying that it's a repeated pattern that in fact Pakistan engages in. It's a repeated pattern of reckless behavior on their part where they continue to export terror from their country. And now, viewers, Republic is the only Indian networker to report from Kabul following the airstrikes that targeted a rehabilitation center. Now, take a look at this ground report that tells you about this attack and how it unfolded on the Afghan soil. Take a look.
The hospital, that there were all civilians, that they were under the treatment for recovery, and most of them will be not good health, but the Pakistani jets have targeted that place. I go to that place, that hospital last night that is named Umaid Hospital, that it have 2,000 beds hospital, and the civilians were under treatment there. There were firing, and I speak to the people for the Republic. They said that the explosion was very heavy, and the jets have landed many bombs on that hospital. Unfortunately, in this morning, I speak with Hamdullah Fitrat, deputy spokesperson for Islamic Emirat. He said that in last night there was more than 500 killed and more than 200 injured. And now I'm in Wazir Mohammed Agha Khan Hospital, a big and famous hospital in Kabul city. The more relative, as I said that I speak with Hamdullah Fitra, deputy spokesperson for Islamic Emirat of Taliban. He said for Republic that in last night attack there was more than 500 killed, but all were civilians that were admitted at the hospital for recovery, and there was hundreds injured. I sent some videos for Republic that you can see that there was all firing in that place, and there was a very big destruction in that place. And now I'm in Wazir Mohammed Agha Khan Hospital. This is a big hospital in the Kabul city. I speak with doctors and here. They said that last night they get some more than hundreds injured here in this hospital in the emergency department, and also dozens of injured are in.
And now, viewers, Donald Trump has said that he was surprised that Iran attacked the Gulf countries at the beginning of this war, while also adding that Iran was not supposed to go after all these other countries in the Middle East. Take a look at his latest statement.
US did not anticipate retaliatory strikes from Iran after the initial strikes by Washington. This is now being accepted by Donald Trump. As he says, he was surprised that Iran attacked Gulf countries at the beginning of the war.
They weren't supposed to go after all these other countries in the Middle East. Those missiles were set to go after them. So they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. And the other one, they fought back. They could have yielded. But think of it, if we weren't around, they had tremendous power. They had thousands of missiles, most of which we've terminated.
All right, viewers, coming up on the other side, exposing a major terror conspiracy against India. NIA arrests 7 foreigners accused of training Myanmar militants and getting drones via India. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as the C-RAM air defense systems intercepts drones.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi and National Law School Bengaluru.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. The price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहे हैं। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंडू। आलू से नहीं होगा। तुम तो कुमार गिरा दो नीचे। अब तुम फिर गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला, चलो वो टका गाड़ी में चला।
All right, viewers, we've got breaking news coming in. Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju in the Lok Sabha has now moved a proposal for revoking the suspension of 8 opposition members. Now, the suspension of the MPs in Parliament has been revoked, and this consensus was reached in all-party meeting convened by the Speaker today. Now, it has been decided that MPs will not be using placards or AI-generated photos and maintain decorum of the House. Name of the suspended MPs whose suspensions have now been revoked by the Speaker today after the decision in all-party meeting with the opposition members yesterday. The names include Amrinder Singh, Raja Waring, Manikam Tagore, Gurjeet Singh Hibi Eden, C. Kiran Kumar Reddy, Prashant Yadorao, and as well as S. Venkateshan and DN Kuriakose. So those are the names of the 8 MPs whose suspension have now been revoked. This comes after there was an all-party meeting that took place, and now in fact Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju had moved a proposal, a motion to revoke the suspensions, and now their suspension has been revoked in the Parliament. This is what we're looking at, the latest coming in from Parliament. Kiren Rijiju, in fact, moving a proposal to revoke the suspension of the 8 opposition MPs. And now after the revocation, it has been decided that all the members in Parliament will not be using placards as well as AI-generated photos, and they will be maintaining decorum of the House. All right, my colleague Harsha now joins with more details on this. Harsha, so we understand that the suspension of the 8 MPs have now been revoked, and there is a consensus among the opposition and the government regarding the use of placards and the AI-generated photographs inside the Parliament.
Yes, you rightly pointed out. Now, Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has moved a proposal in the Lok Sabha to revoke the suspension of all the suspended 8 MPs in the Parliament. Let me tell to all our viewers that on 3rd of February, all these 8 members of Parliament, they were suspended from the Lok Sabha because of creating disruption, ruckus and chaos in the Lok Sabha. We saw during the first part of the budget session how they were on the top of the table. They were top of the table of the Secretary General. Not only this, they tried to jump towards the well, to move towards the speaker, and that was the reason, after several reminders and warnings to them by the speaker, they were suspended on 3rd of February during the first part of the budget session. These names of these MPs they are majorly from the Congress party. They were Raja Amrinder Singh Waring, Hibi Eden, Manikam Tagore, and there was Pratap Singh Prodole, there was Kiran Reddy, and also there were leaders like Dean Jose and one more. So in total, 8 MPs were suspended in the first part of the budget session, and yesterday there was an all-party meeting which was called by the speaker, where the floor leaders of the Congress, TMC, Samajwadi Party, DMK, BJP, all were present there. In that all-party meeting, the speaker categorically told to all the opposition party leaders that if they will not mend their ways and if they will not improve their ways of the protocol in the Lok Sabha, then their suspension will not be revoked. And if the opposition leaders want the suspension to be revoked, they have to follow the proceedings and the decorum of the House. And it was assured by the opposition party leaders to the speaker that let the suspension of the MPs be revoked and there will be no disruption and chaos from the side of opposition party. And the speaker categorically also mentioned there will be no placards, no tearing down papers in the Lok Sabha, and also there will be no standing up and going towards the well by the opposition party leaders. Only then the suspension will be revoked. After opposition just assured speaker that nothing like this will happen in the Lok Sabha, today Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju today in the Lok Sabha have moved a proposal to revoke the suspension of these 8 MPs. Let me tell you, from today, now the suspension is moved. Everyone has accepted the motion which has been moved, and now all these MPs are free to come to the Lok Sabha. They can come and join the proceedings. Already the discussion on the demand for grants for the railway, agriculture and one more ministry are underway. There will be response of Ashwini Vaishnav today in Lok Sabha regarding the demand of grants for the railways, and that is the reason today's suspension is revoked. From today onwards, these suspended MPs who could not attend the major chunk of the budget session, and in fact one entire week of the second part of the budget session, they are allowed to come from today to the Lok Sabha, attend the proceedings, in fact take part in the debates and discussions as well. Back to you.
Right, Harsha. So it does seem like a major breakthrough that has come in, right after the revocation of their suspension of the 8 opposition MPs. We could now see that the deadlock has been broken, and we could see the proceedings from now on go smoothly in the House.
Yes, after the revoking of the suspension of these 8 MPs, because for the most part of the budget session, these MPs were not part of the proceeding debates and discussion, and opposition leaders were continuously requesting and demanding from the speaker to revoke their suspension. The major reason why they were not revoked, their suspension was not revoked because of the behavior of opposition party. The entire country has witnessed the scenes of the Lok Sabha, the scenes where women MPs tried to ghirao the place where Prime Minister Narendra Modi was supposed to sit and make his speech on the budget session. That didn't happen. Also, they jumped on the top of the table of the Secretary General. The disruption, the chaos going towards the well, and also carrying the placards, tearing the papers down in the Lok Sabha. These were the acts of the opposition party leaders, and therefore the suspension was not being revoked after continuous reminders as well. Kiran Rijiju multiple times stated that if the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi will not speak to his leaders and they will not get their act straight and follow the decorum of the house, till then suspension will not be revoked. After multiple reminders and warnings also, the act of opposition remains same. But yesterday, Speaker took a meeting where he categorically stated that if you want the leaders of your party to attend the proceeding, then they must ensure the decorum of the house. They must ensure that there's no placard, no sloganeering, no shouting, no carrying utensils inside the Lok Sabha. After it was accepted by the opposition party leaders, then only their suspension has been revoked. This could be seen as a major ending of a deadlock between opposition party and between the ruling party. Ruling party since day one wants the discussion to happen. It's a very important session. Each and every ministry needs money. Railway ministry needs money. The citizens of the country need money. There's the development in the railway sector, agriculture sector, textile sector. There's ministry, and each and every demand for grants has to be given. And that is the reason this discussion is very important, where the opposition MPs wanted to participate. Back to you.
Right, of course, it's a major breakthrough that has now come in for the House to function smoothly and efficiently. Thank you, Harsha, for joining us and giving us those details. Now we are shifting focus to more developments we're getting from the war in West Asia. Now the US Embassy in Baghdad has been struck again following a drone incursion. Now just days before, the embassy was attacked by an Iranian missile strike and hit its helipad, and this comes after Iran has now recently vowed to retaliate following the heavy bombardment of the Karg island by the US, destroying most of its infrastructure. Now we have more on this story. Take a look at this report.
Several explosions were reported in Baghdad as the US Embassy was hit by a drone incursion, setting the structure on fire. US CRAM system intercepted the incoming drone attack targeting the embassy. An Iran-linked militia force in Iraq has claimed responsibility for the attack. The militia also released a drone video showing how they scouted the compound before carrying out the attack. According to an official, 3 drones and 4 rockets were used in the attack, with at least 1 drone crashing inside the compound. Recently, missile strikes also hit the helipad inside the heavily fortified embassy compound in Baghdad. This is the 3rd time the embassy has been targeted in the ongoing war. So far, US embassies, military bases, and oil infrastructure in the Gulf have been key targets of the Iranian retaliatory strikes. As the embassy was being hit, fresh drone attacks were also launched at the Fujairah Petroleum Industries Zone, setting the structure on fire. This comes after Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi vowed to launch retaliatory strikes following heavy bombardment on Karg Island.
Now here's coming up on the other side. Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistan airstrikes in Kabul last night. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, and now arrests 7 foreigners accused of training Myanmar militants and routing drones via India.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आरती और मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहे हैं। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंडू। अरे आलू से नहीं होगा। तुमको कुमार गिरा दो नीचे। अब तुम गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला, नंदा गुट्टे का गाड़ी मार रहा है।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Pakistan again targets civilians, this time in Afghanistan. Pakistan strikes hit drug rehabilitation hospital in Kabul. Afghanistan Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, NIA arrests 7 foreigners accused of training Myanmar militants and routing the drones through India. After Shivalik's second LPG carrier Nanda Devi arrives in India, docked at the Kandla Port in Gujarat. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as the air defense attempts to intercept. A very good afternoon. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in. The LPG tanker Nanda Devi has now arrived at a port in Gujarat carrying 46,500 metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas. This is the second LPG carrier to reach India's west coast after Shivalik docked at Mundra port just yesterday. The cargo will be transferred to one more ship later on. So big updates coming in here on Republic TV. Let's put out the latest information that we have for our viewers. Latest information that we have for our viewers. Nanda Devi has docked at a port in Gujarat, and the latest update coming in here is that now the next set of operations would be beginning. It's a big energy relief, by the way, for India. LPG tanker Nanda Devi has arrived at the Gujarat port. Nanda Devi, this is an Indian tanker carrying about 46,000 plus metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas LPG arrived in Gujarat just a short while back after safely navigating the Strait of Hormuz, making it the second LPG carrier arriving in India in 2 days. On Monday, Indian LPG carrier Shivalik carrying about 40,000 metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas reached Mundra port in Gujarat. That happened yesterday. The chief officer of Nanda Devi vessel said that the initiative was taken by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways and Shipping Corporation of India, with the Indian and Iranian navies providing the important assistance to cross the Strait of Hormuz, a critical naval choke point disrupted by the Mid-East war. All right, let's go straight across to our colleagues. I think we have Harsh live with us. Let's go to Harsh. Harsh, so yesterday Shivalik docked at the Mundra port, and now right hand of our screen, Nanda Devi has been docked at the other port in Gujarat. Of course, now the next set of operations will begin. So the cargo will be transferred. Yes, over to you, Harsh.
Well, right, Shivangi. In fact, this is the biggest breaking earlier this morning that another LPG carrier carrying nearly 48,000 metric tons of liquid petroleum gas has been docked in Gujarat's Vadinar port. And this is in Gujarat's Jamnagar. Earlier in the evening yesterday, another carrier, Shivalik, was docked in Gujarat's Mundra port. Now, together, both of these carriers are carrying nearly 92,000 metric tons of liquid petroleum gas. If official figures are to be believed, this figure is enough to supply one full day of India's LPG demands. And another great point of relief is that these are the first two carriers that have crossed the Strait of Hormuz, while 22 other Indian carriers are still stuck there. But this is at least some relief here, because ministry has continued to maintain that although India is in a very comfortable position in terms of crude oil, in terms of petroleum, however, there are some cause of concern with regards to LPG. However, two big LPG carriers that are now docked in Indian ports, this is a big sign of relief. In fact, the port ministry yesterday also informed that the docking of these carriers were prioritized, and all of the documentation process was completed beforehand, so that the shipping and transfer of goods can be done on a priority basis, so that these the LPG that has arrived in India can be supplied to the designated consumers, to the designated states, and hence this priority work and the documentation was done beforehand. And this is the biggest breaking earlier this morning that we have fetched, that another carrier carrying nearly 48,000 metric tons of LPG has been docked in Gujarat's Vadinar port, that's in the Jamnagar district.
That's right. Okay, let's go to my colleague who's joining us. We are being joined by Sorali, who is in Bhuj, Gujarat, which is not too far away from Kandla, where the Nanda Devi has been docked. It's one of the ports there. Yes, go ahead, Sorali. So what is happening in Bhuj, Gujarat? We know that it's a little restricted area, so it's a little difficult to get close to that vessel. However, what are you picking up so far?
Yes, that's true. Let me tell you, one of the first two ships from the fleet of Indian subcontinent, that is Shivalik and Nanda Devi, are docked at the Gujarat ports right now. Shivalik was yesterday docked at Mundra port, and now today, in the morning itself, Nanda Devi was docked at Vadinar port, which is near Jamnagar also. We are tracking this entire story closely, and if we talk about both the shipments, around about 92,700 metric tons of LPG in a times when in past entire week we have seen chaos being flagged up in several industries, may it be hoteling industry, educational institutes or hospitals. Also, we have seen long queues for domestic cylinder gases. And in such circumstances wherein US President Donald Trump, US is a very powerful country, but still they had to request 7 other countries to, safeguard vessels and containers which are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz right now, so that the global trade is not affected. We all know that 1/5 of the global trade oil transit passes through the same Strait of Hormuz, which is a very strict checkpoint right now under the control of Iranian government. And this is the power of Indian diplomacy right now, the way back channeling and conversations and consistent dialogue with Iranian authorities. Indian government has made it possible that both the ships pass through the same Strait of Hormuz, and now they are docked at the Indian ports. We also have the information that on one hand, wherein from Shivalik, 20,000 metric tons of gas gas will be unloaded here at Mundra Port. On the other hand, rest 24 to 25,000 will be unloaded at Mangalore Port. So this is how the distribution is strategized by the Indian government. And as rightly pointed out by our colleague, that Indian government has also declared more than 20 ships and containers are still lying in the Persian Gulf on the western side, and consistent efforts are in way. So more ships can be expected. On the other hand, talking about the Jag Ladki, which also passed the Strait of Hormuz, is also expected to be docked at one of the ports. We are still waiting for the official confirmation, but that ship will be carrying 80,000 metric tons of crude oil.
Yes, absolutely. So that ship will be coming in tonight around 8 p.m. Surali, that's what we know so far. Now there are 22 Indian flag vessels remaining in the Persian Gulf, carrying about 611 seafarers. From the latest update that we have, Surali, and perhaps you can talk a little bit more about on this, the crew of these ships are safe as well. It took a lot of diplomacy for us to get to this point, Surali.
Yes, exactly. That's very true, that how Indian diplomacy has played in this very crucial and conflict-driven time, because all the crew members, if we talk about Shivalik, more than 27 crew members with the captain were present. On the other hand, even if we talk about the Nanda Devi ship, more than 20 crew members were present, and all of them were safely escorted. Also here, it's a very important point that Indian Navy ships and helicopters escorted them from the Strait of Hormuz, but diplomacy, back channel conversations and dialogue has played very important role, because the ships were safely escorted. No attack on the crew members or ship. They were very safely escorted from the Strait of Hormuz, which is very important. One important point over here is that it was not a blanket arrangement for all the containers which are stuck over there, but very individualistic approach was taken down by Indian government. And External Minister Jaishankar has also said that he is consistently in connection with the Iranian authorities for rest of the ships to be safely escorted from the same strict checkpoint, which is right now under the control of Iranian authorities.
That's right. Surali, well, thank you for getting us all those details. Big updates coming in here. Energy relief for India, because as these vessels are coming in, they're carrying a lot of LPG and crude oil. We'll put out those pictures for you on your screen. Vessel Shivalik, cargo around 46,000 metric tons of LPG. And what it solves are problems such as reducing LPG cylinder shortage, one of the big problems that it is reducing. Also, let's go ahead to some of the other ships which have docked. Let's go straight across to the next ship. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about these ships which are docking, and we are getting some reactions coming in. So all in all, it's a big energy relief, because we see that a lot of LPG is coming in, a lot of crude oil is coming in. It's going to help our refineries running. It's going to solve LPG problems and energy problems here back at home in India. Getting some reactions. Let's go ahead and play out those reactions.
इसकी वजह से जो एलपीजी के शिप्स हैं वो स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज से आने लगे हैं, तो उसमें जो 2 वेसल्स आए हैं उसमें एक वेसल कल आया है MT शिवालिक, वो वेसल मुंद्रा में पार्ट डिस्चार्ज करेगा, और उसके बाद वो अभी तक जो हम लोगों के पास इंफॉर्मेशन है इंडियन ऑयल से, वो यहाँ पे शिप टू शिप ट्रांसफ़र के लिए वाड़ीनार आएगा, तो मदर वेसल से डॉटर वेसल में ट्रांसफ़र होगा, और फिर वो डॉटर वेसल को आगे डिस्पैच करेंगे फॉर पोर्ट्स ऑन द सदर्न पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री एंड ऑन द ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री। उसी तरह से आज वाड़ीनार में सुबह 2:30 पे नंदा देवी वेसल LPG लेके आया है, 47,000 मेट्रिक टन्स के LPG लेकर के आया है। तो इसमें भी जो प्लान ये है कि इसको शिप टू शिप ट्रांसफ़र होगा ये, और BW बर्च नाम के वेसल में ये ट्रांसफ़र होगा वॉल्यूम, और फिर ये अभी तक की जो हम लोगों को कम्युनिकेशन है, ये वेसल जो डॉटर वेसल है ये एनोर जाएगा और हल्दिया जाएगा, तो ऑन द ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री जाएगा। जो पोर्ट का इसमें रोल है, जो वाड़ीनार का रोल है और एज अ पोर्ट जो हम लोगों को काम करना है इसमें, वो हम लोगों का इसका फैसिलिटेशन का काम है कि एफिशिएंटली ये ऑपरेशन हो जाए। शिप टू शिप ऑपरेशन एक स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेशन है जो यहाँ पे वाड़ीनार में होता रहा है, तो कोई मतलब पहली बार नहीं हो रहा है, ये रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस है जो हम लोग करते रहे हैं।
We're getting some more updates coming in. The National Investigation Agency has arrested 7 foreigners, including 6 Ukrainians and 1 US citizen, for allegedly training Myanmar militants and routing drones through India. Now, the arrests follow an investigation into their illegal travel through Mizoram into conflict-affected zones. Now, the accused were arrested at airports in Lucknow, in Delhi, and Kolkata, and they have been charged under the UAPA. So this is a terror conspiracy which has been exposed. This is special NIA court has remanded 7 foreigners for 11 days. And the 7 foreigners include 3 Ukrainians who were arrested in Delhi, 3 from Lucknow, 1 US citizen from Kolkata. The additional sessions judge Prashant Sharma conducted the hearing in a closed courtroom. All right, let's go across to my colleagues. We are being joined by Shambhavi and Lintoy. Both of our colleagues are joining us live. Yes, let's go to Shambhavi first. Shambhavi, NIC had sought 15 days of custody for these foreigners, but the way they entered India is that they came to India on a visa, then they entered Mizoram, which is a protected area, and then they entered Myanmar. So they had this plan in mind and they executed it. However, they were caught. Yes, Shambhavi.
Right, and when we talk about their route, of course, they enter visa, and for foreign nationals to enter Mizoram, they need a special kind of permit from FRO. That is one requirement, and from there, they were trying to move into conflict-hit Myanmar. Now, what was the route that they took before entering India? What are the other details related to it? It is still a point of investigation for NIA. NIA is currently investigating on 3 points. One is what was their route. They're trying to trace their route even before entering India to understand what are their associations, who are the people they are involved with. The second point that they're investigating is making sure that their mobile data is properly assessed to assess what was their funding coming from, where was their funding coming from, to track their funding. The third is to also examine and make sure that none of their social media platforms is left, because even in previous such cases, whenever such foreign nationals or anybody for that matter is arrested under UAPA, social media has played a very huge role in their entire planning and when they try to propagate their views. So these three points is being investigated, but we know for sure that they were successful in entering India and even Mizoram for that matter without that special permit which is required by the foreign, and all those 7 foreign nationals, which include 6 Ukrainian citizens and 1 US citizens, they entered and they were trying to also, it is alleged that they were trying to route the drones through India and plan some dark terror plot. Back to you, Shivangi.
All right, Shambhavi. Let's go to Lintoy. Lintoy is joining us. Lintoy, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about how these foreigners, how they entered. Shambhavi told us that. But then they entered Mizoram. They came on a visa to India. They entered Mizoram. And then they entered Myanmar. And they bought a huge consignment of drones from Europe. You know, this is very, very shocking how they really carried that out. What do you know so far about how they entered the northeastern area of India?
Actually, there are, several illegal routes which the illegal foreigners try to enter India, and from foreign countries also try to enter Myanmar by crossing this northeast region. Very factual that Manipur and Myanmar has a very, porous border with this Myanmar. So the border fencing is a very, it is a very weak, the border fencing along this Manipur and Myanmar is a very weak one. So from these routes, there, I think, they are trying to enter. They enter Myanmar from that route. There are illegal transit points towards Myanmar also. So this is the point one. And also about this, I think it is during the Manipur conflict time. So the ex-chief minister of Manipur, Biren Singh, has also reacted and applauded NIA for such uncover. Back to Sushil.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us there. Thank you for joining us there. And Anthoy getting us all those updates. So is Shambhavi getting us all these updates which are coming in. And what we have told our viewers right now is that this big terror conspiracy has been exposed, thankfully, just in time. Okay, let's move ahead to some of the other stories we're tracking, getting some more breaking news coming in. More police officials transferred in West Bengal. New postings are out. Let's tell you what the new postings are. Breaking news coming in from West Bengal. Dr. Rajesh Kumar Singh be posted as the ADG and IGP South Bengal region. Then we see K. Jaya Raman, IPS 90 and 91, be posted as ADG and IGP North Bengal region. Dr. Pranav Kuntar, IPS 2003, be posted as Commissioner of Police, Asansol, Durgapur. So I'm just reading out the new postings which are out. Then we have Akhilesh Kumar Chaturvedi, IPS 2005, be posted as Commissioner of Police, Havara. Then we have Amit Kumar Singh, IPS 2009, be posted as Commissioner of Police, Barrackpore. Sunil Kumar Yadav, posted as Commissioner of Police, Chandannagar. The directions of the commission to be implemented with immediate effect, and a report will be also out after joining. Okay, so big updates coming in here. I'm just reading out the notification which has come out. So more officials are transferred in West Bengal. And there's some more information that it says the officers transferred out shall not be posted in any election-related posts till the completion of elections. Okay, let's go straight across to Harsha. Harsha, more officials transferred in Bengal. You know, we are very close to the West Bengal Assembly elections. They're just around the corner. And these transfers have happened. Usually we see transfer happen of the police officials, of the administration as well, sometimes just before crucial polls. So more officials have been transferred. What can you tell us more about this?
So Shivangi, there's a major reshuffling which has taken place in the state of West Bengal. Let me tell you that while the CEO, while the Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar, when he was in West Bengal for a tour delegation, he sought a report from the West Bengal government also regarding the police officials in whose presence the post-poll violence took place in the year 2021 during the assembly elections. And that's the reason why this major reshuffling could be seen. It's a major reshuffling keeping in mind that how it is very important that there should be fair election. Election Commission has been stating that for the fair and for a fair and the peaceful election, it's important that those who were deployed earlier, in whose presence the violence took place, those will not be given the duty and deployment this time. And that was the reason yesterday there was major shuffling. And if we see today, four police commissioners have been transferred. The new police commissioners will be joining from today only. They are the police commissioners of Asansol, Howrah, Barrackport, Chandannagar. They all have been transferred. The new will be joining, and the joining details and the compliance report will be shared with the CEC by the state government tomorrow by 11 o'clock. Not only this, the ADG and the IGP of South Bengal and North Bengal have also been transferred. The major shuffling also includes the SP of several districts. Let me tell to all our viewers that how these districts are of immense importance. The districts like Barasat, Cooch Behar, Birbhum, Islampur, Hooghly Rural, Diamond Harbour, Murshidabad, Basirhat, Malda, Purba Medinipur, DC Central Division, Kolkata, Jangipur, Paschim Medinipur. These are all those districts where immense violence was reported not only during assembly election but during Lok Sabha elections as well. And this time, as it is being stated by CEC, that the violence will not be allowed in any part, any district, at any polling station in West Bengal. Therefore, to ensure the peaceful election and violence-free election, the police officials majorly have been changed. They have been transferred and new postings have been done and also ordered by the Chief Election Commission at the time of the election. With the West Bengal election is just at the knack of time, and this major reshuffling could be seen as a major change for the state government as well, because these are all officials as well, which the CC have been stating that departmental inquiry inquiry was also not done against many officials who were deployed when the post-poll violence took place in the year 2021.
Yes, Harsha, and after these transfers happen, we see that Mamata Banerjee has written to the Election Commission of India. She has criticized and hit back at these transfers just before the polls. She's saying that this reshuffle was not needed at all. So the TMC clearly extremely angry about this transfer.
Yes, you rightly pointed out, TMC is extremely angry about these transfers because at the knack of time, the TMC was never expecting that such major reshuffling would be done. She was only expecting that the few reshufflings would be done majorly in the central Calcutta, southern part of the Kolkata and some in the North Bengal region. But the major reshuffling, the commissioners of the Calcutta region have been changed. The commissioner of Hooghly region, Asansol region have been changed. Barakpur region have been changed. This is a huge setback for Mamata government. She was never expecting that such order will come from CC, and every day the police officials are being transferred, this being the major reason how much Election Commission of India is committed for a violence-free election in the state of West Bengal. In all the elections, West Bengal is the only state which has seen immense violence during the elections, not only assembly but as well during Lok Sabha elections as well. And this time CC has been continuously stating that there will be fearless election. No one has to be scared or be under fear before coming to the polling station, and there will be no violence as well. And that is the reason why this major reshuffling has come around the West Bengal election. Already the campaigns have begun. The elections will be held on 23rd and 29th of the 23rd and 29th of the April. And this is very important that how there should be officers deployed at the polling station who ensure that each and every citizens are arriving at polling booth without the fear that they will not be allowed to vote or there will be any sort of booth capturing. The highest number of booth capturing has been seen in the state of West Bengal by the Election Commission. There has been the immense booth capturing. There have been violence clashes every time. And this time CC wants to ensure that there should be the violence-free election, and that is the reason why this major reshuffling has come around. The commissioners have been changed. The SP of major districts with the majority of minority population have also been reshuffled, transferred and changed this time. Back to you.
All right, thank you for joining us with all those details. Harsha joining us live from our Kolkata newsrooms. Thank you, Harsha, for getting us the latest more transfers just ahead of the West Bengal polls. Police officials have been transferred. TMC not too happy with that move. Taking a short break. Do not go anywhere. Afghanistan Taliban government claims 400 have been killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. And US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. A dramatic video shows explosion as the air defense attempts to intercept.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार, विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज रहे हैं। ठीक है ना भेज रहे मंडू। आलू से नहीं होगा?
Let's look at the headlines at this hour. Pakistan again targets civilians, this time in Afghanistan. Pakistan strikes hit drug rehabilitation hospital in Kabul. Afghanistan Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, NIA arrests 7 foreigners accused of training Myanmar militants and routing drones via India. After Shivalik's second LPG carrier, Nanda Devi arrives in India, docked at Kandla Port in Gujarat. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as CRAM air defense attempts to intercept the Iranian drones. Now viewers, earlier Pakistan last night launched a deadly attack on Kabul. Over 400 civilians were killed by an airstrike in Kabul after Pakistan launched the attack. Pakistan's strike targeted a drug rehabilitation center in Kabul, Afghanistan's capital. Pakistan, however, has denied carrying out the attack, stating that they had only targeted military installations. Now, the casualties were all civilians. Moreover, there were patients at a drug rehabilitation centers. So, in fact, the center was of the patients who were receiving the treatment. They were drug addicts. They were at a rehabilitation center when Pakistan hit at them last night. About 400 people have been killed, hundreds of injuries as well. Pakistan conducting cross-border terrorism here. Killing innocent civilians, 400 lives have been lost so far. We earlier showed you the visuals of the aftermath of the attack. Tragic visuals showing dead bodies buried in the rubble. You have suicide attacks also earlier taking place in Bajor. Pak soldiers also killed in the bombings, so crossfire from both sides. But Pakistan this time launching a large-scale attack, killing 400 people, conducting airstrikes after airstrikes, shelling civilian areas in its cross-border attacks. Pakistani airstrikes, in fact, hitting civilian infrastructure. Earlier we saw how seminary also led to the killing of 20 people. But these are the new strikes that we are seeing in Kabul. Now, a statement from Pakistan says that the attacks, in fact, was carried out in Kabul and in Kandahar. We got the horrifying visuals from Kabul. Now, the target was, in fact, a drug rehabilitation center in Kabul. Over 400 people killed, 250 injuries in these Pakistani strikes. So, of course, we can term it as a Pakistan-Afghanistan war in full blown.
because here we have hundreds of casualties taking place. These are the visuals that we're getting you, these are the visuals in the aftermath of the attack from Kabul, where you can see how civilians were stuck here at the rehabilitation center, could not rescue themselves, and in fact got killed. Hundreds of civilians got killed. Here are the visuals from Kabul. You can see the dead bodies lying there, absolutely helpless in rubble. These are the visuals that we are showing you, also exposing Pakistani lies, who are saying, Pakistani is saying that they in fact hit a military infrastructure, that was a terror infrastructure in place. But these are the visuals that tell a completely different story. All right, we are getting you an exclusive report from Kabul. Take a look at this. Our reporter Hashmat live on ground.
After the last night airstrike on Umaid Hospital, that was a civilian hospital, up to 5-6 hours, the emergency teams were trying to get the bodies. But as I know, and asked for Republics, they said maybe some of our bodies like on that place, they're trying to get the bodies. And also this place in this building that I'm standing here for Republic, this is all like emergency. I can see in you in the videos. This is just emergency department. That all people that they are standing here, they asking about the relatives. All the civilians. This is we have see the board that this Wazir Muhammad Khan emergency department. There is no any like official staff. There is no like any police or army. There's just civilians. Civilians hospital, and they target civilian hospital. But as I get reported, there are dozens of killed and bodies and also injured are admitted in Sheikh Zayed hospital, and also in the Lamans in some hospital, in emergency hospital. This is emergency department. They didn't let us to go out, and I'm trying to have some videos for you. As I reported for Republic, the Deputy Minister for Public Health, he speak to for Republic that all the people that have targeted last night, they were civilians, and yeah, this is the emergency department. This is the people that they are asking about their relatives. This civilians talked to for Republic that he said the uncle that he is here for his brother and son, that he's admitted he's injured last night. As I asked them that the Pakistani army said that we targeted like bases, or we targeted like oil tankers or like this thing, they said no. All the target was civilian peoples, and all the civilians lost their life, and the injured was all the civilians. As I speak with Zabiullah Mujahid, the spokesperson for Islamic Marat, he said that this is not diplomatic way, and we will not try diplomatic way. He said because of this, that Pakistani always targeted our civilians, and he said we will be react very badly and very hardly, and we will target, as I speak with many officials, and when they said that we will be target Pakistani large cities like Islamabad, Punjab, and other places, because he said that last night hundreds of Afghan civilians lost their life, and this, but we are not. Also, one person that I have speak with him, he also said to me that he suggests from Pakistani civilians that stand against your army, your corrupt government, your Shahbaz Sharif corrupt government, Asim Munir corrupt general. They suggest from the Pakistan civilians that stands with Afghans, and they said that Pakistani army are destroying every place. They are bombing civilians in many places. Minute by minute, the people, the rush are being more. The people are coming here, and they know about this. Emergency equipment and other things to them, and they are okay. Now I'm going to the emergency department, and I will try to have speak with some one of this people that they have injured in this place. This is the rooms that the civilians have been injured in last night. This is Rahmat Malang. His name is Rahmat Malang. He was admitted at the Umaid Hospital. The big part of it, we got ولا تاني زخمي شوي. Yes, his name is Rahmat. He said that I was admitted at the Umaid hospital. We are all civilians, and when the jets come and they targeted the hospital, he lost, that doesn't have his friends in this place. This other doctors that he is here for that. I speak with the doctors. He is responsible for this department. He said that dozens of injured that last night they are trying to get medicine in this is other rooms. This is the injured people that you look and he is Lihaz. His name is Lihaz. He is also injured of the last night attacks. The Pakistani army yet attack on the Umaid civilian hospital. We can see here some others injured that I think that he is. Many of the injured, they are in so bad position. You see in the pictures, Wazir Muhammad Agar Khan Hospital Emergency Department. That this the they are civilians. This doctors are sharing with us. The doctors here, doctors responsible for this department. He said that we try to موضوع كنت صوبات متوني فقط المشاور بس شخص okay he didn't you can see this pictures. I'm trying to this Wazir Muhammad Agar Khan Hospital. Dozens of injured, but they all are civilians. There were no checkposts, there were no military bases, nothing. The jets came and landed the bombs on the civilians' places, and the civilian places that they are killed is more than 500, and hundreds are injured. And this is one of them. He said that he is electricity engineer in the Umaid Hospital. He is also civilians. He said that we were on the work and we hearing some firing. That the Taliban were firing to the on the jets, but they said the jets landed many bombs on this hospital, and I hardly injured like in his hands, foots, and other place. And he said that all the hospital was burned, and the hundreds of civilians were killed.
Viewers, our senior executive editor Shavan Sen also spoke with Tolo News, Afghanistan's local media outlet. Take a listen to this conversation.
You are saying that the Taliban government late last night made an announcement that there's going to be no question of having a dialogue with Islamabad?
You're right, yes. I personally asked him, and he joined in a program, and he said no room is left for diplomacy with Pakistan, and they are going to avenge, and they want to go into revenge these attacks on civilians as they did before. So the Pakistani side should be waiting for their response, and we cannot expect when, but of course they had confirmed that they're going to revenge these attacks. And of course they also confirmed that they're not going to attack civilians, as they already proved that, and only the installations, the military installations, and the military personnel of the Pakistani military regime will be among the targets that they are going to launch. And also, he also confirmed that last night it was not only Kabul in the hospital which was being bombed by the Pakistani military regime, but as well as the two locations in Nangarhar in the eastern part of Afghanistan as well was the target by these airstrikes. And you know that this is not the first time or the first incursion by the Pakistani military regime.
Right.
Of course, you remember that on 22nd last month as well, they have carried out airstrikes which killed 17 members of a single family, all women and children. They target civilians. They do not target what they call TTP, and they never proved that. Of course, they targeted TTP hideouts or any sanctuaries here in Afghanistan. They never proved that. So even it's not only the local media or the national media who report from the ground, even the international media as well, they reported that in this showcase, they proved that all the victims of these.
Viewers, another piece of breaking news coming in. Israel has launched a series of airstrikes on Iranian military infrastructure in Tehran, Shiraz, Tabriz, targeting command centers, launch sites, air defense systems, and missile production facilities. Now, the strikes are part of a broader campaign to degrade Iran's military capabilities, with the Israeli military claiming to have hit over 200 targets, including missile production sites and defense installations. Now, the attacks have resulted in significant damage, with reports of explosions near Tehran's airport as well, and damage to Iran's space and satellite center. The Iranian government has also vowed now to retaliate, with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's aircraft reportedly destroyed in one of the strikes. So these are the fresh wave of targeted strikes that are now taking place on space command centers. In fact, in Tehran, Shiraz and Tabriz in Iran, so specific targets being hit at by Israel military command centers of Iran, now debilitated. Israel, of course, taking out all of these military infrastructure, command centers, trying to give a dent to Iran's missile capability as well, targeting various regions. Now you can see how protesters were out on the streets when explosions also took place on the pictures that we have from Tehran that we earlier broke on Republic TV. But these are the fresh waves that are now being carried out by Israel on Iran's military and command centers. Fresh wave of strikes by Israel on 3 Iranian cities that we're talking about, including the capital of Iran, which is Tehran. So these are the latest visuals that we are getting you, viewers, of the fresh explosions. In fact, these visuals that you see are from earlier, where protesters were there protesting against the strikes and also protesting in favor for the Palestinians, where the explosions that you see on the background taking place. All right, so the failure to push regime change in Iran has now left Donald Trump to look for Kurg endgame. Now, our editor-in-chief, Arnab Goswami, breaks down why Kurg Island, Iran's main oil export hub, has become the new strategic focus in the ongoing US-Israel confrontation with Iran. With nearly 90% of Iran's crude oil exports passing through Kurg Island, Arnab Goswami explains how controlling this small island could severely impact Iran's economy and global oil supply. Take a look at this report.
While the focus has been largely on the Straits of Hormuz because it is seen to be the geographical choke point, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that at this point of time, especially when America is seeking some kind of an exit route, the focus is beginning to shift to something that Trump could claim as a victory, and that could be Kurg. What is Kurg? Kurg is an island. It is Iran's primary oil export terminal. It is located 26 kilometers off Iran's coast in the Persian Gulf. It's actually a very small island geographically, but it serves as the main and most important terminal for nearly all of Iran's oil exports, with massive handling capacity for global shipment. So if you take Kurg, or you take over Kurg, or you destroy Kurg, either in which way, you decimate Iran economically. There is no two views about that. This is a really small island geographically, just about 8 kilometers in length and 4 to 5 kilometers in width. It has a total area of just 20 square kilometers. So it's not even a small town. It's very small. But unlike most of Iran's shallow coastline, it allows super tankers to dock easily, making a near shore but offshore strategic asset for Iran. In a way, this is Iran's mistake because it is in such a volatile region that to locate all of its terminals, so at least 90% of oil traffic as a economic, at one economic point, to put so much emphasis on Kurg, it makes it not Iran's strength but Iran's weakness. Because if someone takes Kurg, then you are targeting the backbone of Iran's oil exports. 90% of Iran's crude oil exports pass through Kurg. And this battle for Donald Trump is about oil, remember. He wants Venezuela for oil. He wanted to target the Greenland region for oil and gas. He believes that if he controls or takes over the Iranian stronghold of oil, then he counterbalances all of China. And things change for him economically. So this is a China versus America game. In that sense, at its very core, it's Trump's attempts to equalize and counterbalance China. This viewers in India must always understand, because China has got such an advantage over America in recent years in technology, rare earths and others, that the only way for America to come back is to control the energy trade, and that's what Trump is playing. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me back to Kharg. If Trump is willing to disrupt Kharg, he can remove millions of barrels a day from global supply and spike prices affecting all major economies in the US. So what he will want to do is control Kharg, not destroy it. If he destroys Kharg, then he affects oil markets for a very, very, very long time. The world will then go into a spin. The Strait of Hormuz region near Kharg Island is equally critical for supplying oil to US allies in Asia and Europe, including Japan and South Korea. So it is against Trump's interest to destroy Kharg. It is in Trump's interest to manage Kharg. It is the crown jewel of the energy network that Iran controls. Kharg is very close to the Strait of Hormuz choke point. If America claims Kharg, it will have leverage over 1/5 of global oil trade. Interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, Kharg has been fleeting in the headlines for the past 24 hours. Here's what Trump said. He said, "We may hit it a few more times just for fun." Trump does nothing for fun. There is a game plan there. There is a deep strategy behind trying to target Kharg. One, America's regime change strategy has flopped. If he goes after Kharg, then it's going to be very clear that the initial game plan of killing Ayatollah Khamenei and making sure that his regime change on the ground would have flopped. Then he goes into debilitating Iran and hoping that if he debilitates Iran, if he breaks Iran's oil and economy backbone, because Iran is a very, very rich country in terms of oil deposits, if he's able to break that or take that away, even for a while, then he can go to the American people and say, "I won the war." So the targeting of Kharg and the possible exit strategy for Trump are all very linked. But there is one thing that Trump has not planned for. This is not an economic battle for Iran. This is a battle for survival. And most importantly, Iran is a religious political establishment. Iranian leadership has portrayed this conflict as a defense of its civilization, as a defense of its Islamic political system, of its sovereignty, not just as a military confrontation. In this war, therefore, Iran is not just protecting its oil, it is protecting its religious political establishment. Something that Donald Trump would be able to counter or coerce them to give up is going to be very difficult, because on the one side is a military, on the other side are a people who are supporting a religious establishment. And that is the reason, if you see the latest visuals, I'll show you too, why the conflict is only intensifying. First visual, Iran striking Dubai airport and justifying the hit by saying that some of the planes that they have targeted were being operated from there, that they were military planes. Then there is another visual of Israel claiming Iran's Mehrabad airport. They are claiming they have hit Khamenei's plane, the plane that he used to travel in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the destruction of infrastructure. The justification is that the infrastructure may appear to be civilian, it's actually military. What is this telling us? It's telling us exactly what Pete Hegseth, the American Defense Secretary, is uncomfortable with when he sees the media saying the fight is intensifying. The reality is the fight is intensifying. Now, targeting Kharg is deep strategy for Donald Trump because he needs a win very quickly. The reality is he has very few friends. He's very lonely. His allies, people he hoped and expected through coercion or through intimidation, or perhaps by begging that he would take them with him. He's literally called or begged his allies who are not involved in the US-Israeli attack on Iran to send ships to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Surely, ladies and gentlemen, the loss of oil is getting to him. But are people responding to him? Are his allies saying, yes, we will help? No. Here is what the German defense minister said. He said, what does Trump expect a handful of European frigates to do what the powerful US Navy cannot? This is not our war and we didn't start it. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the Japanese saying? The Japanese are saying we have not made any decisions whatsoever about dispatching escort ships. We are continuing to examine what Japan can do independently and within the legal framework. The same legal framework which Pete Hegseth said has no standing or importance. While the UK has simply declined a request from US President Donald Trump to deploy ships that reopen the Strait of Hormuz. In Canberra, Australia, the Transport Minister Catherine King was totally dismissive about interest in naval deployment, saying, I'm not sure we're intending to send our ships to the Straits of Hormuz. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, you would ask, why is Trump wanting help from other countries? Ladies and gentlemen, not for their frigates or for their tonnage, but for the symbolism of being seen to lead a larger effort. Now, that larger effort is not happening. Trump is not getting, at any point of time, the opportunity of being seen to be leading a global effort in tackling the situation that he has created. And in that, ladies and gentlemen, comes predictably, once again, I wrap up by saying, where do I therefore see things going? As Trump becomes more and more lonely, as fewer and fewer countries want to get into this, as more and more parts of the world begin to realize the longer this carries on, ladies and gentlemen, the worse it will be, the worse off their citizens and their economies will be. Everybody is beginning to look out for themselves. And everybody more or less has begun to realize that Donald Trump has failed to stir regime change. That the fundamental political, geopolitical strategy of eliminating the top leadership and creating a sense of discord, which would then lead to regime change, has failed. Now, having realized that Donald Trump is in phase 2, which, as I told you 3 days back, was a phase where he would be shifting the goalposts, leading to phase 3, which would be, and I repeat, which would be about getting an exit route for himself. More and more countries are stepping back. Therefore, Trump needs a quick exit. Is it possible that he will claim some victory in Kharg, some statistic that he's had some success in economic terms, something which in factual terms he can say has debilitated Iran enough for the moment that could get him an exit? Entirely possible. The battle for Hormuz has now therefore been centralized into the battle for Kharg. Now, where does that leave Israel? If America pulls back, truly, Israel would not have achieved its objectives of destroying the regime in Iran. In that way, though not entirely, this would be back to square one, much more status quoist than the Americans and the Israelis would want to accept at this stage. Keep your eyes out for the battle for Kharg. Watch the space.
Taking a short break, coming up after Shivalik's second LPG carrier Nanda Devi arrives in India, docked at Kandla Port in Gujarat.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आरती और मसाला।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंटू नहीं का तुम तो करा जी आलू से नहीं होगा हो गया तुम तो कुमार गिरा दो नीचे आ तुम फिर गाड़ी में पूर्ण वाला चलो वो टका गाड़ी में चला
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी every day.
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, Executive Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहा हूँ। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंडू।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Republic reports from ground zero of the attack on a rehab center in Kabul. The Afghan government has termed the attack as a slaughterhouse of dreams. Following a Republic Tolo joint broadcast, breaking news emerges. Kabul confirms that there will be no talks with Islamabad. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, and IRS 6 Ukrainians and 1 US man accused of training Myanmar militants and getting drones via India. After Shivalik's second LPG carrier, Nanda Devi arrives in India. Third crude oil tanker, Jug Ladki, docks tonight at 8 p.m. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosion as CRAM air defense attempts to intercept drones. Welcome viewers, our top focus at this hour as we continue our rolling coverage on the war investigation. Now a bigger escalation that derails targeted attack against top Iranian official Ali Larijani in overnight airstrikes. Now viewers, it is unclear if Larijani, the Secretary of Iran's National Security Council, was killed or injured in these strikes according to officials. Meanwhile, another recent Israeli airstrike in Iran has targeted Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader Akram al-Ajuri and other top officials in the terror group according to defense sources. So the latest and the bigger escalation that you're picking up from the war in West Asia is there has been a targeted Israeli attack on the National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani. Now Ali Larijani is somebody who's been very close to IRGC. He's been closely associated with the late Supreme Leader Khamenei as well. And now we're looking at a targeted attack against Ali Larijani. In fact, he was last seen when there was a rally on the Quds Day march. There were visuals of him coming from Tehran. And now it seems there has been an overnight targeted attack on the National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani. Now, whether or not he has been impacted in in these attacks or not is not known yet. Now, my colleague Gesu joins me with more details on this. Gesu, it's a big escalation that has now come in the war in West Asia. We're given to understand there was a targeted attack against Ali Larijani. What more do we know about this?
Right, Ishita. In fact, you very correctly pointed out, after the Quds Day march, this is the second time that, Ali Larijani has been made a target. Now, the IDF is claiming, this is only a claim, possibly also a rumor. We've heard too many of these, going around for the Israeli Prime Minister first, then Mojtaba Khamenei also, and now Ali Larijani, the National Security Secretary for Iran. He's a very important member for the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, so it makes him a central figure in Iran's Security Council. Now, reports suggest that the Israeli Defense Forces struck Larijani, but also there is no confirmation at all. The Iranian side has not given any confirmation. They've not released any statement or comment over Ali Larijani's state as of now. But also remember, during the Quds Day march, he was targeted. There were 3 top leaders, Iranian leaders who were part of the march. Pezeshkian, the president himself, was available at the march, and that march was also struck by the Israeli forces. Now remember, by the side, the Israeli Defense Forces have also released a barrage of strikes on the Palestinian commanders. And in fact, they also claim that one of their top military commanders has been slain as part of the strikes that they have incurred on the Palestinian military. By the side, they've also claimed that as the escalation continues to climb in the West Asia war, they've said that they also struck Iran's National Security Council Secretary, Ali Larijani. But remember, these rumors have been going around for far too long. First, it was Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran. Second, it was about the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. And third, we're hearing another report about Ali Larijani. So till the time we don't have a confirmation, there's nothing concrete that we can actually say about this. But this is what we're learning from the first report that have come in, and also from a statement that has been released by the Israeli Defense Forces. But again, this entire war has been a complete display of intelligence targets and intelligence coordinates which are used to, target these leaders. And we have zero confirmation on whether or not that has worked out as of now. So we will hear the Iranian side, and possibly only after that we will have a confirmation with us for whether or not Ali Larijani, the National Security Council Secretary, has made it alive, or are these just rumors? Ishita.
Right, of course, Kesu, in this fog of war, there are, of course, the claims and counterclaims are being made from both the sides. And as you said, there have been targeted attacks against leaders before as well. We'll have to wait for the confirmation to come from the Iranian side as well on this. Thank you, Kesu, for joining us.
Right, Ishita.
And now we are shifting focus. Another breaking news coming to light. Finland, the president, has now called for India to broker a US-Iran ceasefire. The statement says we need a ceasefire. I'm wondering if India can actually get involved. We saw Foreign Minister S. Shankar call for a ceasefire to calm things down. That is the statement coming in from the Finland President Alexander Stubb. Now, he has called for India's intervention in the ongoing war in West Asia. He says there was a statement made by the External Affairs Minister S. Shankar earlier to calm things down and to de-escalate. And we have seen New Delhi making a lot of statements, batting for diplomacy for both the sides to come back on the negotiating table. And now even Finland's president asking for India's intervention. And now, viewers, earlier today, Republic's correspondent Saurav spoke to the Palestinian envoy to India, Abdullah Abu Shawesh, over the situation in Middle East. Take a listen as to what he had to say on the ongoing war.
Joining us, the ambassador of the state of Palestine to India, Abdullah, and now we will have a word with him regarding the current Middle East crisis and the on-ground situation of the Gaza Strip. So what do you want to say about the current situation, current Middle East crisis, which unfolded in the past 2 weeks?
Thank you so much indeed. When we talk about the current unfolded crisis, it's not a crisis, it's an Israeli-American war against Iran and that retaliation from Iran, and unfortunately Iran was involved also to retaliate and to attack many of the Arab Gulf states there. So that this is not a crisis, this is a war launched by Israel, United States of America against Iran, and Iran also started this war also against the Arab country, unfortunately. Crisis or the war itself at large, always we the Palestinians stand strongly against the war, and this is something that we used to say it and we will continue to say it. There is a lot of diplomatic way to solve all the problem worldwide, and so that we the Palestinian, at least since 1948 up to date, is still strongly committed to the international law, to the multilateralism, to solve our problem or our to solve our problem with Israel, to bring an end to the Israeli occupation.
All right, viewers, now U.S. Embassy in Baghdad has been struck again following a drone incursion. Now, this comes days after the embassy was earlier attacked by an Iranian missile which hit its helipad. Now, this comes after Iran has now vowed to retaliate following the heavy bombardment that took place on its Karg island after U.S. destroyed most of its infrastructure. We have more on this in this report. Take a look.
Several explosions were reported in Baghdad as the US Embassy was hit by a drone incursion, setting the structure on fire. US CRAM system intercepted the incoming drone attack targeting the embassy. An Iran-linked
to understand who might have been responsible, what the reasons for the attack might have been, and to understand what the consequences, if any, might be under the relative legal frameworks. We are at this point in time, we're at an early stage of that investigation. You can imagine that it is impossible for us to do more than at this stage from afar consider what has happened. We don't have access to Iran. We have asked for that access and will continue to seek that access. But from afar, we are certainly most concerned about the news about that attack, and we are in a priority fashion considering what that attack means and what the implications are. But at this stage, I can't say that we are able to say anything beyond the very considerable concern that the mission has for that school and the killing of obviously what appear to be numbers of children and teachers that are entirely innocent.
Okay, we'll take a question from the New York Times from Nick Cumming. Bruce, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the briefing. I just wondered if you'd had any direct contacts with people in the United States, the Department of War, who are supposedly conducting this inquiry, if you have any sense of how that has progressed and your level of confidence in what is being done from that end. And second question, given the internet blackout, I'm wondering what whether you've been able to establish any kind of systematic picture of interventions by the Republican Guard forces in Iran in terms of actions against any protests they are getting or the actions they are taking to maintain their control on the streets. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. No, we've not yet been able to reach out to anybody in the United States administration. That's not to say that we wouldn't welcome any such information if it were to be provided. It's clear to us that whatever happens in respect of such an event, given the innocent lives that have been lost, there is a critical need for such an investigation to be done and for an independent outcome to follow, and which, of course, we as the mission would be particularly concerned to receive information of. From our perspective, we know that others have also begun to consider the attack. We've seen NGOs looking into the attack, and we ourselves are doing our best to understand precisely what has happened. But in short, we would be certainly welcome to receive any such information from any avenue. As you know, we would, as the mission, have our own independent obligation to consider those facts and to understand precisely what it is that those facts lead to by way of legal consequence. And that's an analysis that is ongoing. In relation to the internet blackout, it is of particular concern to us that that internet blackout continues. We know that already that internet blackout resulted in the difficult situation of cloaking the Iranian government's response to the January protests. The difficulty, of course, in understanding what's happening on the ground right now is compounded by the internet blackout. But as the mission, we are doing our best to be available, to speak to witnesses where they have been able to reach out to us, and to do so in a manner which consistently keeps to the rigorous standards of us ensuring that if there is the possibility of a witness reaching us, if there's a possibility of NGOs being able to facilitate information to us, as the mission, as I've said already, we remain the repository for such information, and to gather it and to do the necessary collation and consideration of those facts as across the different sources to ensure that we not only have a proper narrative coming out, but that we do so in a manner which attempts to ensure that there is a credible accounting of what has been taking place under what we understand is a tolerable situation right now on the ground.
Could I just follow up on that then and say, I mean, we have anecdotal accounts of, anti-government protest in the context of this particular military action by the US and Israel. And I'm just wondering if you have anything that allows you to characterize the way Iranian authorities are responding to that.
We've seen, like you, the public accounts. We've seen reports coming out. But we are in a situation where it's impossible for us to have verified anything at this particular time. We are certainly concerned that if these accounts are correct, they point to the current situation, again, allowing for the possibility of escalated repression and for reaction against those who have dared to express dissent. We are particularly concerned about that because of past patterns which we've investigated. And so the difficulty that we have seen is that because of these past practices, there is the ever-increasing risk that such a pattern is again repeated. And right now, because the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran is in a situation of reaction and is in a situation of being cornered, obviously, at a time when there are these precipitous strikes that are taking place, there is every reason for us to be concerned that that risk may well materialize. But we are considering the facts in order to see precisely what is developing on the ground. Right now we are, as I say, alive to the reports. We see them and we are collating them, but we haven't come to any particular findings.
Okay, thank you. We'll take another question from the front row. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Isabel Sakov with FED Spanish News Agency. You said in the report you presented yesterday to the Human Rights Council that in June Israel committed war crime in the attack against the prison in Evin. I would like to know if what do you know more than is that you said yesterday in the statement about this attack. And if you know if the Israeli government is conducting any inquiry or investigation on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. What we have established is that it was an armed conflict between Iran and Israel in June of 2025, and that as a result of that, civilians and civilian infrastructure had to be protected under the laws of war. We found further that Evin Prison is such a civilian infrastructure, and that Israel deliberately, it appears to us, on the evidence that we have collated and which you'll be able to find in our conference room report, which will be released later today, that there are credible grounds to believe that that was a strike on the prison that was committed by Israeli forces, and that because of the laws of war having been flouted, that constitutes a war crime, The details of that, as I say, are set out in the conference room report, and that report will be released later today. In respect of your second question, we've not heard any news of any investigation that has been undertaken by the Israeli government in respect of that attack. But of course, we would welcome any such investigation were it to take place, and we would consider it important in light of our findings in the report around the numbers of individuals and who appear to have been civilians and who are innocent in that strike and who lost their lives, that such an investigation ought to be done.
Do you know if at any point Israel said that this was a legitimate target for any reason, the prison?
My apologies. Israel had said that it had struck the Evin prison. It had made that clear. And it has not, in our assessment, it has not provided a justification for why that strike had taken place, which justifies the attack on the civilians that were included in the prison. And for those reasons, as you'll see set out in the report, we've come to our conclusions.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a question online from Yamori Shinbun. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for doing this. Yesterday at the council, you quoted the Judge Robert Jackson and said that he criticized the resort toward an aggrieved country, and methods like diplomacy are open to an aggrieved country. But the Iranians were attacked twice in 8 months by the United States and Israel in the middle of the negotiation with the United States. So my question is, who do you think could stop the US and the Israeli preemptive war against Iran? Thank you.
Thank you. Firstly, let me make the point clear that the mission in respect of the armed conflict is considering each of the facts as they arise on a daily basis, sometimes on an hourly basis, and attempting to make its best assessment of what's taken place. In relation to the question directly, you're right that yesterday the mission quoted Justice Robert Jackson, but it's important to situate what that quote was about. Justice Robert Jackson, as you know, was the chief prosecutor at Nuremberg, and he was speaking on behalf of the Allied powers, and he was particularly at pains to criticize what he said was the resort.
All right, viewers, that was the United Nations briefing on the ongoing war investigation. Now we've got more breaking news coming in a major escalation. IDF conducted a precise strike, eliminating the commander of Basij unit, guided by precise intelligence from military intelligence. The Air Force here conducted a targeted strike yesterday in the heart of Tehran, eliminating Gholam Reza Soleimani, who's the commander of the Basij unit over the past 6 years.
Massive attack that is taking place in Kabul. Pakistan has been accused of targeting civilians. Joining us on this broadcast is Dr. Suhail Shaheen. He's the spokesperson of the Taliban. Mr. Shaheen, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. I want to directly ask you, will there be any talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan?
Of course, there will be no talk while they targeting hospitals, civilians, our commercial markets. So how that means they do not want a peaceful solution of the issues. So it is a crime against humanity to target innocent people, which has no justification.
Dr. Shaheen, with regards to the fact that this time hospitals have been targeted, earlier your Home Minister had indicated that if at all civilian infrastructure is targeted, then Afghanistan will target Pakistan, and this time it will be inside Pakistan. Is that the warning that you are giving Islamabad, that strikes that will be carried out by Kabul will be now inside Pakistan?
It is up to the Ministry of Defense and other relevant security forces, what kind of plan they have. Of course, they will have. But this incident, this attack on civilian people, in my view and in the view of every human being, is a crime which they have committed.
Mr. Shaheen, do you believe there can be any talk with Pakistan, or have you tried speaking to Islamabad in the last few days? Because there has been an escalation. This time you have lost about 400 people. Will you be talking to the Pakistani government?
Oh, when they are attacking us, when they are killing our civilian people, they are attacking hospitals. So they mean we will, speak to them in their language. No other.
Okay. Mr. Shaheen, what is the expectation that Afghanistan has from India? India this morning has condemned the attacks, saying that this is a cowardly attack carried out by the Pakistanis. What is it that Afghanistan is expecting from India?
It is a crime against humanity. It is an obligation and responsibility of all countries of the world, and also India, that they condemn this horrendous incident, and carry out their obligation and responsibility in this hard time of the people of Afghanistan, and stand with truth and against that brutality committed.
One last question I want to take from you, Mr. Shaheen. Has Pakistan asked for a ceasefire? Is Pakistan requesting Afghanistan to not carry out any attacks?
I think the atmosphere is very tense, and particularly after this brutal attack, I have not heard about ceasefire.
But had they asked earlier? Had they asked earlier for a ceasefire?
Before that, there was a negotiation in Qatar, in Istanbul, and also Riyadh. But because of their irrational demands, that negotiation failed. Because
what kind of demands are the Pakistanis making?
We told them that, of course, we assure you that we will not allow anyone to use the soil of Afghanistan against Pakistan, and for that we can give assurance even in written form, and there should be a mechanism to monitor what we have given assurance. But that was not acceptable to them.
What are the irrational demands that Pakistanis were making?
Yeah, for example, they said that there should not be any incident inside Pakistan. We should guarantee that. We told them that's not possible. You cannot guarantee. We cannot guarantee that any incident should not take place, even in Afghanistan. And the second was, you come to Pakistan and disarm TTP members. So we say we are responsible for our own land. We assure that we will not allow anyone to use the soil of Afghanistan against any country, including Pakistan. So that was their demand, which is not possible. This disarming anyone inside Pakistan, that's their responsibility, not ours. If we go, that means starting a new war or new fighting. But our says that we will not allow anyone to use the soil of Afghanistan. That is rational, and their demand is not rational.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shaheen, for joining us on this broadcast.
All right, viewers, coming up on the other side, IDF confirms the killing of Basij paramilitary force commander Ghulam Reza Soleimani in a strike on Iran overnight.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi and National Law School Bengaluru.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, we will work on that.
Afghanistan Taliban government claims 400 killed and over 250 injured so far in Pakistani airstrikes in Kabul last night. Republic reports from ground zero of the attack on a rehab center in Kabul. The Afghan government has termed the attack a slaughterhouse of dreams. Following a Republic Tolo joint broadcast, breaking news emerges. Kabul has confirmed that there will be no talks with Islamabad. Exposing a major terror conspiracy against India, the NIA arrests 6 Ukrainians and 1 US man accused of training Myanmar militants and routing drones via India. After Shivalik's second LPG carrier Nanda Devi arrives in India, third crude oil tanker Jagladki docks tonight at 8 p.m. US Embassy in Baghdad hit again. Dramatic video shows explosions as CRAM air defense attempts to intercept the missiles. Viewers, now quickly shifting focus. The Israeli media has confirmed that the commander of the Basij in the Iranian regime, Ghulam Reza Soleimani, was eliminated by Air Force in a strike that hit hard inside Tehran. Now, Soleimani was attacked along with his senior commander while staying in an alternate tent headquarters, which they set up as a decoy as opposed to the main military headquarters to avoid being targeted. And this was set up after the destruction of their main headquarters. Now, meanwhile, his deputy Basij commander, Sayyid Qarishi, was also eliminated in a strike that took over the Shiraz city inside Iran. Now, remember, viewers, this comes as the IDF also claims to have struck Iranian National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani. However, there is no confirmation on his health, his state as of now. But the biggest revelation from these recent strikes from the IDF have been that they have killed a top military commander of the Basij in the Iranian regime, Gholam Reza Soleimani, along with his deputy, who has been killed in the strikes that the Israeli Defense Forces raised on Tehran and in fact also in Shiraz city inside Iran. That's the latest that we're learning in. Viewers, now shifting focus. China says that it is in full communication with the US over Trump's visit. China is communicating with the US about issues including a planned visit by the US President Donald Trump. In fact, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson also said that he in fact confirmed Trump's visit to Beijing. Now, Lin Jian said that in Beijing, China and the US are in full communication over issues including the timing of President Trump's visit to China. Now, remember, as the West Asian tensions and escalations rise, China and US stand as opposing partners in the face of this conflict. However, Trump also said on Monday that because of the war, he has proposed a delay to the trip that he's taking to Beijing, which was earlier scheduled for late March to early April. Now, Chinese Foreign Ministry has also said that US officials clarified, and I'm quoting them, that the visit is unrelated to the issue of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump reportedly said that he would like to know before leaving for Beijing whether China would help secure the strait or not. Now, remember, US President Donald Trump scrambling for support. First, he campaigned for support inside EU countries, which completely took a back step. Now he's trying to bank on China to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Now, a US trade official also said he walked back the statement, saying a postponement will be unrelated to China's help in the strait. Again, US's stand throughout this war has been completely unclear. First, they do not know what their agenda for the war is. Now, they are not able to justify what Trump's visit to China in these turbulent times is going to mean. Where on one hand, US President Donald Trump says that this will be directly related to China's capabilities and China's accessibility for regaining control over the Strait of Hormuz. His foreign secretary, Trump's foreign secretary, says that the visit is irrespective of Chinese capabilities to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Viewers, now shifting focus to some more breaking development that we're tracking. Now, Australia and New Zealand have called for an end to the war that's ongoing in West Asia. Now, Australia and New Zealand government's ministers have agreed that the West Asia war should end as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. The Australian and New Zealand foreign and defense ministers met for annual talks just today in Australia's capital of Canberra, where they agreed that the tensions that are escalating in West Asia must be deterred, a mediation must be set up, and that military expansion, military escalation must be stopped at all costs as soon as possible. Now, New Zealand's Foreign Minister Winston Peters told reporters at a joint press conference after the meeting, and I'm quoting him, he said that we discussed the issues that are ongoing in the West Asia war, highlighting that Australia stands for peace. He said that we want this crisis to end as quickly as possible and move to a negotiated solution. Now, peace calls for diplomatic talks, call for geopolitical interventions amid the West Asia escalations growing from all sides possible. It was India first, and now Australia and New Zealand have also called for an end to the war. Viewers, now shifting focus to the proxies of the war. Now, Lebanon also remains in the middle of the ongoing conflict in West Asia, and the breaking that we have is that Israeli airstrikes have wounded 5 Lebanese soldiers in southern Lebanon. Now, Lebanon's